We are ready, Freddie.
All right, let's move on to the council staff planning session, and we'll call that meeting to order. Don't have any mayor's comments tonight, so let's go on to review the recommendations from planning and zoning for 605 South Iowa and other UDO changes. Steve, you're gonna...
I was going to take this because I was at...
Well, Brad
yeah.
offered to kind of...
Oh, yay, Brad, take it away.
I can fill in, I guess. Do you want me to take the lead?
It doesn't matter if you want to,
I
that's
can.
fine.
Usually this would be a Brian thing, wouldn't it?
It would be a Brian thing, yeah.
So there's a list of changes. I sent an ordinance to Trudy today. Essentially, so this summarizes the proposed changes. Essentially, these are all issues that have come up from the time we adopted planning and zoning, where we identified, hey, this probably requires a change in order to address this particular issue. So it's gone through P&Z. P&Z held a public hearing. I believe they recommended all of the proposed changes that are set
They
forth
sure did, yeah.
in the packet. I don't know if you want me to run through them all. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But again, essentially they're items that we've noticed as we've been implementing the new UDO.
Most of them are clarifications or just corrections of errors. Something wasn't printed correctly in the UDO. So that's about 99. I think that's pretty much all of them, actually. I don't think there's anything really substantive in there. It's all just corrections, isn't there?
Recommended being too restrictive, the first two.
Yeah.
Is that for the setback?
Yeah,
Yeah. We changed the setback because we found through quite a few different instances that was too restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt that lessening it there, and speaking with Brian and John and our code enforcement department, that we should probably lessen that a little bit, the restriction on that.
So actually, it would eliminate that 40-foot setback altogether, and then it just requires screening between. So it'd be a limited number of properties where this applied. Basically, businesses directly adjacent to a residential area. There wouldn't be a setback, but there is a requirement for like screening between the business property and the residential property. That summarizes it.
And then the garage ones was also too restrictive, storage garages and private garages.
It made it so that a lot of the smaller lots in town, which a lot of our older lots are smaller, you're unable to have a secondary structure in the backyard of the garage or in the backyard of the property. So it was so restrictive with this new UDO. So if I'm not mistaken, Brad, we changed that for that reason.
Yeah, and actually, I think this particular one may have been an oversight where there's that matrix, if you remember, where it runs through all the various categories and whether uses are permitted or conditional. And in the R2, R3, and R4, it didn't allow for private garages, which we thought was an oversight.
Any other questions of any of the changes?
Echo Trudy's comment. I mean, the P&Z board was unanimous in their vote on all of the administrative changes set forth in this document.
Could I just ask what the last two, 3.4.2, .12, and .13 were that it says consider elimination? They were too restricted. Curious.
Yeah, and that's in the actual ordinance that will be in front of council on Monday.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I don't
Oh.
have that off the top of my head. But the ordinance itself says, here's the language, and it's being deleted.
Just completely.
Okay.
I'll look for that then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I think we all knew going in that there were going to be changes to the UDO as we went along, so it's good that we're catching them and getting it to where it's more useful.
Okay. Then let's move on to the 605 South Iowa recommendation. Brad, are you, Trudy, who's going to
This
take
is,
that again?
yeah, this is a request from Dave Davidson. He wants to put in like a banquet hall or like an event center type of thing there. And right now it's zoned R2, I think, and he wants it to go to B3, is that right? There we go. And P&Z again held the public hearing on this and are recommending approval of this change.
Is that location, is that the old Kingdom Hall?
I believe so,
Okay,
Joe,
that's-
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's already boring, it's already, one side's already B3, so.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
pretty natural.
It is. Is that where
Yeah, it
Rotting
aligns.
House fence is?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they abut.
On the west side. I think there's a house in between there, on the south side. There's a couple houses in there.
Pass this around, this is the only one that's printed in color. I tried to put them all in black and white, so, yeah. Outlined red is the Kingdom Hall property, and there are two.
Outlined in red.
Those two.
With the big lot.
You must have
He's
good-
passing around the
good
color.
Well,
vision.
that's what.
I just
yeah,
know
I
where
have
they
a
are.
color copy. The rest I printed out in black and white.
You gotta save the color printing for budget season, huh?
You're still gonna get that color dig in before.
We ordered extra red ink.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Other questions?
And just, for your information, notices were sent out to anybody within 200 feet of this for the P&Z public hearing. So all of the people in the area have been notified of this, so.
Did any owners show up? Any adjoining owners show up to the P&Z?
No, Brian had a question from one of them, but it was answered. So Vince Rottinghouse was there, and he voiced approval or support of this. Is he, when you said Rottinghouse, is he the one that butts back there? Yeah. So he was there, and he just, at the public hearing, and he voiced support of that, so. Other than that, no comments or anything from anybody, so.
Any other questions? This will come on the December 2nd meeting
Correct.
then?
Yep, this will all be on
So-
Monday.
Just one question though, so the P&Z was in favor of this, but they kind of had a little bit of a dilemma in their conversation, and I would too. If we convert this to B3, so we'd have, say that Mr. Davidson sells this to another person, and they could actually make this into something less desirable than what we want based off of the. So we could have a strip club, we could have an adult bookstore, and we could have just about anything there,
Are
correct?
those allowed?
Those are allowed in B3.
Are they allowed on B3?
Okay.
I don't know if they are or not.
But we could have a bar there.
A
Yeah,
bar
there-
could be there. I think that is allowed, wasn't it? I think that comment was made.
Yeah, I wish I had the UDO in front of me. There's particular restrictions I know for like adult
Right.
entertainment, adult bookstores. I don't think it would, I'd have to look, but there's setbacks required for like residences, so.
Right.
Don't necessarily, that would be something that'd be allowed here, but other uses allowed in B3, any use that's a permitted use, if it was sold, would be allowed at this location, if it's rezoned.
Maybe that's something not for this meeting, but if you could explain to me, or Brian could explain to me, if we go down that path in the future, what would our options be for that?
Yeah, I can take a look at that matrix and I guess talk to
Or you-
council as far as.
I have a copy, just point me where it's at.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have any options. If it's B3 and somebody puts something that's
Correct.
allowable, we can't say, no, you can't be there.
Correct.
Correct.
So I guess the only question is what's allowed in a B3?
Right.
We can forward the matrix.
So this wasn't a conditional use, it was a full switch to,
Correct, so if it's B3, my understanding is that what he intends to use it for is permitted in a B3 district.
Okay. So it might be helpful to let the council know what's permitted in a B3. Is that something that
We
can be
look at
included on
matrix and-
for Monday?
The matrix, we can include that.
Yeah, that would be good, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on this one?
Monday, we'd have to look to have the first reading, and then we'd also set public hearing. We'll have to have a published notice and a public hearing on both these ordinances.
Okay. Next up is review traffic code changes. Who's going to talk about traffic?
This is just that 13th Street, right? Is that yield?
Just 13th Street.
13th Street yield, that's what I was thinking. This is something I think that John,
I don't think we have any
Kinda
information
recommended.
on this other than
Oh.
traffic code changes.
oh, shoot, okay.
So we
I
need
can speak
to,
on
we need to
it.
be told what it is,
Yeah.
what we're talking
13th
about.
Street now is extended out to the west until it meets Corporate Drive. When it meets Corporate Drive, it comes to a T intersection there, and the other part of 13th Street will now be closed, or already is closed, down by the hospital. So at that intersection where it meets Corporate Drive, we've chosen to put up a yield sign instead of a stop sign, just due to the amount of traffic there. And through, what's that guide that John always uses?
And,
Sudas.
well, it's MUTCD, I think, isn't it, right? Is
Through
that
one of
what it
those,
is?
Yeah.
he's seen that that's the best option for that.
Okay.
So just request the traffic code reflect that that sign will be placed there.
That's the new extension.
The new extension to the west.
and that still was appropriate even when the tire plant is getting out, Yokohama's getting out of work and other, I mean, because I've been out there a couple times when people come flying down through there.
And I questioned John on that, and he said that they would have the right of way, even if it were a stop sign, they would still have to stop because that'll be through traffic. And so he thought that it was appropriate through that book and through what he had looked up, so.
So what about when Commonwealth apartments are done?
We actually spoke about that again also because of the other road extensions we may put through there. And he said it might be time to review it at that time to see if there was something different to do.
Okay, I guess that, yeah, it just seems like that would be a stop sign rather than a yield sign, but if John's going by the big rules, I guess, he probably knows, but I don't know why it wouldn't be a stop sign, but. Questions on that? Any
Thank
more questions? So is that something that we'll have to then approve at a meeting?
Yes. It's on Monday's agenda as well.
Okay, yeah, because there's going to be construction out there and a whole bunch of stuff going on that you look like you maybe think it should be a stop sign also.
Well, that was my first feeling, but John, I mean, and he goes by this book that's
Yeah.
put out from National and coming to a T intersection there, so at some time, I think we should probably review it at some time.
Because I say
Right now, there's a very small amount of traffic that's
Today,
gonna come off 13th Street just because there's one apartment complex up there. But as we expand out there, hopefully quite a bit in the future, I think it would probably be something to definitely revisit at that time.
I'm aware of what you're saying, but I also know that John made the point up by the high school that sign should be a yield sign instead of a stop sign. And as time has run, it's stayed effective that way. So the yield sign effectively blocks people without impeding traffic, so. And if it's not restrictive enough, we'll go up.
Right?
All right. Address changes. People maybe eventually be able to find us.
Yes. Wouldn't
Because
that be nice?
I will say I was at the senior center, otherwise now known as the community center the other day, and I said, we're going to change the address because right now if we look it on GPS, they end up in your parking lot. And they said, yes, they do, because we have a lot of people come inside here and say, where's City Hall?
Yeah.
Which was part of my questioning when they changed their name from senior center to community center was, it's already a little confusing. Community centers are oftentimes tied right to City Hall, so now we have direct people that put in their GPS to get to City Hall, they end up at the community center. It just helps reinforce it. They're in the right spot, but they're not. I had this happen today. I met with Representative Hinson's person out of Waterloo, and she came up here, and she was about 15 minutes late because she couldn't find City Hall. So we're going to address that problem. And as we've talked about a little bit, we've looked at what would be the natural numbering for this location for the library, and what we came up with was 900 Clark for the City Hall and 910 for the library. Seems to make sense. The Optometric Center is 800. For Security Bank across the street is 809, I believe. So it just seems to be a nice, good numbering system for City Hall and the library. Library director and board are in full support of it. Everybody we've talked to thinks it's a very good idea. And the time is really perfect. We're going to be having our temporary location on Clark, and so during that transition, we'll work towards making the official change. But I've also talked to Jen Solomon at the county for E911, and she thought that numbering made sense as well. So, and John has reached out to the post office about making that change. So, yeah, everything seems to make sense. If you guys are supportive of that idea, that's the direction we would look to go, and I think it'll make it easier for everybody to find where they're going.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense.
All right, City Administrator report.
Don't have too much other than we were just doing a lot of prep work, anticipating a big move coming up here. So, waiting, the timing of, we need to do that asbestos work before any work would begin on this building, and so I'm getting a second quote on that. Should have that, but you don't know until you get the bids who the contractor is going to be and see what their timeline is to know how to put that all together. But we're trying to get that all coordinated here. Had discussions over the last couple of days on the phone system specifically. We've talked for a couple of years about going to a VoIP, voice over IP system, rather than copper wire, and we're pulling the trigger on doing that. It'll be a pretty seamless change. It makes it very easy to switch locations from one place to another. So we're moving forward with that. Eric Merritt's helping us with that solution, and just asbestos. Just trying to get things in order. Tomorrow morning we're going to be, Hugh and Tree, they have already been going through a lot of files. We're going to be doing more of that tomorrow to see what needs to stay, what needs to go, what really needs to go. All that so that we can be ready for what we anticipate. We approve a project on December 16th, hopefully. Then December 18th, we're going to have a number of high school kids here to help move things. So we're going to try and coordinate with them for about an hour plus to move a lot of stuff between here, 623 Beck, 507 Clark, and 913 North Main, the old Oliver Tatt building that we own, that the Lions Club was using it. Thank you to Delane and his fellow Lions. They got that all cleared out this weekend, so I anticipate that'll be some long-term storage for chairs, desks, equipment, some files, things that we are going to be using in the interim, and then we'll be moving things here and there, working through all those. So that's my update, is trying to get through that stuff.
Anything else? That it for your report?
I think that's all.
It's enough, isn't
Did I
it,
forget
Steve?
something?
It's been crazy.
Okay.
Just want to make sure there wasn't one more thing.
That's what you were getting
You're
at.
making fun of me. I got it.
He'll do it after Trudy's done.
That's right. The more you wait, the more I think about it.
There you go. How about any board, commissioner, committee reports?
We went through what P&Z met earlier last week, so that's what I had.
Anybody else?
Parks and Rec met, and they're working through with the contractor on fixing the inclusive playground issues. And thinking about long-term budgeting solutions and master park plans and all of that.
I will say they
I
are,
was gonna say I had to leave that one a bit early, so I don't know what else I.
well, I will say they're looking at the master, of having a professional person come in and help them with the master park plan. They were gonna do that on their own. It's just kind of has stalled and there's not really, so they're thinking they need to, but Tyler was gonna look into what the cost would be for that and how they would pay for that, because they have a rather slim budget, so they, you know, their hesitation is if we spend 2 years worth of our capital fund on paying for our park plan, that's 2 years we can't do any capital projects, so see where that goes once they get some quotes and get some ideas, because I think they probably would be a good idea.
Yeah, and it sounds like these companies do more than just help you plan out your capital projects. They'll also just sort of help you identify everything in all the parks and public spaces so that you know what needs to be repaired and when. And it sounds pretty in-depth, so.
Anybody else have any reports?
I did think of one more thing. So, I've also been working through our budget workshop timeline. So trying to get that piece together, that's been an interesting task because we need to coordinate space and availability with Zastro, so I've already moved some dates around, but we'll be looking to do our CIP stuff those first couple weeks of January, and then that week of the 20th. Monday is MLK Day. Tuesday is Astro's not open, so we'll probably be looking to start on Wednesday the 22nd, and then Thursday the 23rd, just get the ball rolling at that point. I still got to work out the math at the end because we did have a lot of time last year, but now the state has moved up that deadline to get information to the county by about 10 days. So as I recall, we had about 30 days extra, so we should still have about 2 weeks in there, but I haven't finished it out yet. So I hope to get that out to you maybe tomorrow so you can at least start reviewing it, so maybe we can talk about it Monday night.
So January 22nd, that'll be the night of a regular council meeting, right?
Yeah,
Right.
let's figure that out.
Yeah, okay.
January 22nd is a Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but with
but
Martin
the
Luther
20th is
King,
MLK.
yeah, with Martin Luther King Day, I think we normally bump that back to that Wednesday,
Yeah.
don't we, I believe? In the past, I think we have. We'll get it figured out. There's
Yeah,
just lots
very
of.
much a work in progress.
It is very much a work in
And
progress.
FEMA, worked on a lot of FEMA stuff today as well. Had our last FEMA call. We're
Oh,
getting close.
Yeah, FEMA. Oh.
We're getting there.
Hmm.
Any, what's that?
Get there quicker.
He thinks he's mayor now. Any further reports? Then we'll consider our meeting adjourned.